Now, one of the biggest questions in The Sopranos is Tony dead? And if so, who killed him? Now I'm going to go with the assumption he died, as there is evidence for it, and look at the biggest and most likely suspect, Butch. As David Chase, the creator of the show, the man who wrote and directed the finale, said the original plan was Tony was going to die.
The scene I had in my mind was not that scene.
Okay.
Nor did I think of cutting to black. I had a scene in which Tony comes back from a meeting in New York in his car. You know, at the beginning of every show, he came from New York into New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And the last scene was going to be him coming from New Jersey back into New York for a meeting at which he was going to be killed.
And when did the alternative ending first? Do you remember when it occurred to you?
Of course, there's the line that Bobby says to Tony about not being able to hear it when you die, thus the fade to black. Of course, he tries to get Phil to stop the hit and stop the war with Tony, which Phil refuses to do so, and thus it is shown that Butchie is lost in Chinatown, aka out of ideas. And he is the one that suggests to Phil to kill Tony, which shows he is willing to kill a boss if needed, and also it seems that he might have used other members of Tony's crew. For example, he organises the hit on the New Jersey crew. One guy asks about a hit on Polly, which Butchie replies with,
Three guys. Paulie got the area?
No, management. Tony Soprano, obviously.
suggesting they are working with each other. And we know that Polly has talked to New York before, like with Johnny Sack. And in the finale, Butchie gives clearance to allow the hit on Phil, and Polly is wearing bright clothes, suggesting to the audience to pay attention to him. And when Tony's back is turned, he shakes Butchie's hand to signify a deal. And during his last scene, when Patsy is mentioned, Polly looks shocked and smiles, after suggesting Patsy could be in on it. As well, of course, he tried to kill Tony before, and it's hinted that Meadow is pregnant.
Meds coming separately. She had to go to the doctor. Switch birth control.
And during his last scene, Polly looks very nervous. And it's possible that Rhiannon is working with him. Due to Polly noticing her, she sees seemingly the only person to know of Tony's location and where the dinner is, which is clearly shown when she looks up. Then there appears to be a picture of her when Butchie talks about the hits on New Jersey. And the lyrics of the song, which Rhiannon's named after, match up. Will you ever win? Rhiannon rings a bell throughout the night. All seem to suspiciously add up. And of course there is more for Butchie. He is now probably the boss of New York, and now has the chance to kill his only obstacle, and was willing to kill Tony earlier.
A whack a boss? I won't do that.
It's been done before.
And it was wrong then.
Eye for an eye then, huh? Pick somebody over there.
And the others that could be involved have motive. Polly is shown to talk to New York and be afraid of Tony. Patsy hates Tony for killing his brother. And the fact that Carlo has flipped means Tony could have to give evidence that leads to his crew getting prison time. And it's possible the members only guy is a relative of Gene, formerly part of their crew. Now, of course, this could all be headcanon. However, I think not. David Chase and the writers have been shown to give subtle clues about stuff throughout the show. In the pilot, Tony is shown to have 6 fingers, a sign of a bad omen. In a scene where Phil talks about compromising, he says this.
I wanted to fuck a woman, but I compromised. I jacked off in a tissue. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
And puts the cigar in his mouth, which insinuates fellatio. Thus, Tony laughs. And when Phil suggests starting a war, Butchie is shown to encourage Phil, almost like he's setting up his death, so he can become boss. All of this to say, everything in this show is done intentionally. There's tons of hints that Tony died, and I believe if anybody had the power, intelligence, and the nerve to pull it off, it's Butchie, who I believe killed Tony.